Have you heard of the bullet train? It is the fastest train in the world. And once it starts going, it doesn't stop, and you can break through a wall with this bullet train. However, if you put a small stone just in front of the wheel before the bullet train has started, there is no way it can start.
And then I made myself one promise. I will roll my mat out and I will get onto it.
Very often, we don't see a change right in the beginning and we give up. We're like, there's no point in this. I am putting 1,000 rupees in my SIPs, 10,000 rupees in my SIP. I'm not seeing a change in 5 months. What is the point of this? Forget it. I'll take it out and I'll buy myself a phone. Hello and welcome to the Compounding Mindset by Axis Mutual Fund. I'm Ashdin Doctor, your habit coach, and we have Paridhi Doshi with us. Paridhi, hello and welcome to another episode.
Hello, Ashdin. It's good to be back.
Same. Today, I'm going to start it a little differently. Okay, I'm going to tell you a little story. So back in the day, I was a horrible student. Okay, I didn't want to study. More importantly, I didn't want to give my exams. So my parents, in their infinite wisdom, decided to send me to a motivational talk. So I was sitting in this motivational talk at a very young age. And this story has stuck with me. So this motivational speaker comes up and says, have you heard of the bullet train? It is the fastest train in the world. And once it starts going, it doesn't stop, and you can break through a wall with this bullet train. However, if you put a small stone just in front of the wheel before the bullet train has started, there is no way it can start. And he said that most of us are stuck because of that small little stone in front of the wheel. So all we have to do is get over the initial inertia and get the ball moving. Today's podcast is about this. How do we get over this inertia? And why do we stop when things are hard right in the beginning, knowing that it's going to get easy going ahead?
Correct.
So it's so interesting, right, Paridhi? Because we have so many little such blockages that start. And it's always hard in the beginning. We have to figure out how to get over this hurdle. Have you noticed this as well?
All the time. Because I think showing up and starting is the most difficult part of working out. Because it could be at the end of the day, it could be early start in the day, it could be coming from the fact that you have bad experiences with working out in general. It could be preconceived notions about strength training, mobility, injuries. All of these small, tiny obstacles is what stops people from either coming back or starting in the first place. So I see this all the time with my clients.
It's the initial inertia. So as a habit coach, I keep talking about this inertia for change. And this inertia means that, life is going on as it is going on. Now, in order to change it and push it in another direction, it requires a lot of force. Now, that force can come as one big push, or it can come as small nudges that eventually change the direction of flow.
Correct.
One of my favorite stories is about how the Grand Canyon was made. The Grand Canyon was made by this river consistently over so many thousands of years, just trickling through it. And you can't imagine, if you've been to the Grand Canyon, it's so massive, it's so awe-inspiring. And to think that it was just by one small little river that flowed through it that created this beautiful thing. So it's all about the little bit in the beginning, creating a massive impact going ahead.
Correct. And it could be as simple as in the world of wanting to be fit. It could be as simple as rolling out a mat. And I think this is something that I have used so many times to get the ball rolling. Because as somebody who's been in this field, in this industry, been working out for close to now, 20 years of my life? Of course I've hit my obstacles. Of course I've fallen off the wagon when I've been like, okay, life is too tough. I'm too tired. I don't want to do this. I don't want to do that. And then I made myself one promise. I will roll my mat out and I will get onto it. From there, I'll spend 2 minutes sitting on it. And then if I don't feel like doing something, I will get up. But that just initial momentum of picking a mat and rolling out and just getting into the start position has made all the difference for me. Because a lot of times people come and ask, okay, so how do you stay consistent? How do you start? You work 8-10 hours in the day, you're on your feet, coaching other people, literally seeing workouts through the day. then why would you want to do this at like 2 or 3 p.m. in the afternoon? And I'm like, I'm not motivated. Let's just get that clear, because motivation is that one big wave. It's not the tiny drops of water that trickle down. It's the simple habit of rolling out your mat and just being on it. That small, tiny step is what ended up becoming something so big and such a cornerstone in my discipline or motivation when it comes to just starting.
What you said is so critical, because I know we've discussed it in the past that you've had injuries, and starting again after an injury is something so hard to do, right? There is no desire. And I know when I've had to do something after an injury or get into workout, rolling out that mat, you say, ugh, to yourself, right? You find the pain in just rolling that mat out.
That's correct.
And as soon as you do that, once you sit on that mat, maybe you'll do a little stretch. Maybe you'll do a little push up. Maybe you'll do a few crunches. Something will happen. And that little something starts the momentum process going. That little something breaks that inertia. That little something then slowly can become a 1 hour workout if it has to, or it can stay at a 5 minute little stretch sesh that happened at that point of time. But it just started it. Many people don't start. Maybe they've had, for example, in the finance world, right? We talk about savings and investments. Many people are too scared to invest because for many years they've just not had a suitable amount of income.
Correct.
Which is very close to an injury.
Yes.
Maybe they had loans to pay off. Maybe they had to buy things for the family. They just never could get around to saving. And now that they can, there is that inertia towards it. They'll end up spending the money elsewhere but not investing it. So getting over that hurdle, just the same way that injuries exist, getting over that hurdle into something when it comes to investment is such a big step for them.
And sometimes not asking what will happen when I do something so small, because we're so skeptical of what's going to happen if I just save 100 rupees. Like, it's not going to turn out to be anything. But what you don't realize is 100 rupees saved over 7 days is 700 rupees. And that could actually either buy you something extremely useful in your day-to-day life, or you could invest it back, and that 700, it will eventually become 7,000 somewhere down the lane. Same thing is when you have an injury, you have such a big goal now. Okay, I really need to get back to working out and being the fittest version of myself, without even realizing what the fittest version of yourself looks like today. If that means your fittest version of yourself is just doing 5 minutes of mobility, let's do that. Because I've struggled personally so much with it, because I went from competing and training 4 hours to doing 20 minutes of rehab work. And I didn't stop to ask myself, what would these 20 minutes do? I just kept focusing on, oh my God, I have this big goal, but this is looking so tiny. What is this going to lead me? Instead of asking what is going to happen, just looking from the lens of where can it go if I get over this and just put myself to use for 20 minutes. I think just that perspective shift is so important and helps so much.
So correct. From moving 100 kilos around to suddenly just trying to lift one leg up or one knee, which is your physio exercises, which looks so simple and puny.
Yeah.
But after an injury, feel like, a very big pain. I remember when my father broke his shoulder, just raising it was an exercise, right? And it took so long for him to get it straight. It was painful for him. But every day, because he was consistent with it, what we did was we put a wall, on the wall, we started putting a mark. Where can you put his hand? And every time he reached that spot, we put a mark there. And every time he crawled just a little higher, we put another mark there. Crawled a little higher, we put a mark there. So you could see the inertia breaking. And you could see slowly the momentum starting. The first week, no change. Then a little bit happened in the second week. Then by third week, he was actually climbing up the wall much faster. By the end of the month, it was almost like a rock star. So you started seeing that change.
Yeah.
Very often, we don't see a change right in the beginning and we give up.
Yeah.
We're like, there's no point in this. I am putting 1,000 rupees in my SIPs, 10,000 rupees in my SIP. I'm not seeing a change in 5 months. What is the point of this? Forget it. I'll take it out and I'll buy myself a phone. That's how we end up thinking about it. We have to trust the system and we have to trust the process. There's a reason why So many people tell us to do this. There's a reason why the physiotherapist tells the person to climb up the wall slowly. In the same way, there's a reason why an SIP works. It works because you have to trust the system, knowing that that little bit amount of money that you're putting inside is eventually going to take you to that ideal self or that goal or that direction that you want to be heading in.
And the nice, interesting thing is you can keep changing those systems. It doesn't have to be one simple thing. It almost always is trial and error. But you still got to show up and you still got to do it. I remember when I started and when my cast came off 3 years ago after my surgery happened, my wrist only moved from here to here and to here. That's all. And I was like, I'm sending my brain signals for my hand to move. It's not really going anywhere. But just doing that and that 5 times in a day over 7 days, and I made it a habit to write it down. Because it sometimes so happens that when you can't see progress, having something tangible written down gives you something to come back to.
Correct.
And having written that down every week on week, okay, I moved my hand by 2 degrees. I moved my hand by 4 degrees. And when I looked back at it at the end of the week, I'm like, hey, I actually completely forgot that at the start of the week, my range of motion was just like 2 degrees. At the end of the week, it's 10 degrees. But it's still not ideal. I would, of course, like to go back to my entire range of motion, but we lose sight of it because we can't see the results. But having something tangible makes it easier for us to keep a track of it. Same thing, when I started with SIPs a couple of years ago, it just felt like, oh, I'm just putting 2,000. I mean, what is this even amounting to, right? Because I'm much as well, my young self might as well use that $2,000 to go out and eat something nice. But 6 months down the lane, when I had completely forgotten about it because I had automated the process, I looked at my bank statement and I'm like, hey, not bad. Those were $12,000 that I actually saved. So I think having something tangible, setting up a process and trusting that process really helps.
It's such an important thing. If it was in your bank, you would have spent it.
Exactly.
But the fact that it was not in your bank account, it was somewhere else, it meant that it got saved, invested, and grew.
And I also completely took out the volatility in it, right? Same thing, why you would go to a physio, why you would go to a coach. Because you're sort of getting an accountability factor in. The same reason why you would set up investment systems in the first place. That accountability is taken care of. And that then helps us compound over time because now there's somebody keeping you in check or there's something keeping you in check to make sure that you stay on the bandwagon. It itself is fighting that inertia. Getting yourself a good coach who keeps you accountable, getting yourself maybe a financial advisor that keeps you accountable itself is a part in the process.
And then what happens once the momentum builds up? You know, like in the story that I was telling you earlier, this bullet train can smash through a wall when it has momentum. In our life, smashing through a wall means it can overcome an obstacle. Correct. It can overcome an obstacle. It can overcome the highs and the lows, for example, in the marketplace. Sometimes the prices shoot up. Sometimes the prices drop. How do you still stay consistent and break through these strange times, these highs and lows? Not good or bad, but strange times. How do we pass through them? That is a key part of momentum.
Correct.
And our entire job is to figure out how do we create this momentum in our habits and in our financial life. Paridhi, when you were passing through your injury, I'm sure there must be all sorts of emotions flying around at that point of time. There might be doubt, might be hopelessness, might be anger. How would you overcome those emotions to actually make a change?
I think that injury period was so tough because unlike any other rough patch in your life, it's really dominated with a big I don't know, right? There's so many uncontrollable factors. With an injury, with any other distress in your life, the only way to overcome this is to focus on the part that you can control. At that point of time, I couldn't control my anger, I couldn't control my frustration, I didn't know what I was doing because my plan was to actually defend my title of being the fittest again, but here I was barely the fittest in the room, forget about even in the country. But what I could control was my effort. And that's the only singular factor that I could control. Ideal case scenario, I would have eaten my emotions away. But I knew that if I don't take care of my nutrition, which is in my control, if I don't take care of my rehab, which is in my control, I won't be able to get back to where I was. And that's the only single thing that I controlled, irrespective of what happened in the environment. If it meant I'm so sad that I don't want to head to work and I just want to be at home, I rolled out my mat at home. It didn't matter where I was, it just mattered what effort could I control in that environment. And this was so similar to when I started saving. Again, my young self wanted to buy really, really good things. And in my environment, there are also my peers who are now in that capacity of earning and spending and splurging. Your mind always goes to the fact that, hey, if they can do this and get this and do that, why can't I? What am I doing with saving this amount of money? But savings in order to create wealth, which was my end goal. Because 5 years down the line, I don't want to be left with things in my house, but much rather things in my bank account. That was the singular effort that I could control. And that's exactly what I did. So I think when it comes to overcoming emotional decisions, the only thing that you can control is the logical part of putting that effort in. And that's something that I focused on.
So you move the emotions into a logical system that you created for yourself.
Correct.
Where, as far as possible, the emotions were removed. While the emotions might be still there as a baseline, it was the logical systems that kept you in place.
The automated processes that kept my effort also in place.
Lovely.
Ashdin, in habit formation especially, there's so much back and forth and there's so much resistance, because now we are talking about creating a completely brand new system that does not suit you, is not comfortable for you. How do you help people fight that starting inertia?
So it's a beautiful technique. Okay. What you have to do is you have to learn to have conversations with your future self. If you can talk to your future self and ask your future self, what is it that you actually want? What is it that you would want to be? And if you can actually visualize that future self, you'll soon realize that even though you're not seeing any progress right now, that future self has already gone through that process and has changed dramatically. That ideal in itself, the way that you start talking to your future self, that when I started habit coaching, there was no such thing as habit coaching in the world. I had to create this whole thing. But in my mind, I was talking to somebody who had created this beautiful industry where everyone was talking about habit coaching. Even though when I started, nobody spoke or knew how to think about habits, we started slowly creating and seeding it. It took a lot of time. The wheels kept spinning and spinning and spinning till that momentum was generated. In the same way, any habit that you want to form, any change that you want to form, you want to overcome procrastination, talk to your future self who does not procrastinate. What does that person sound like, look like? And you'll suddenly start realizing that that's an inspiration. Imagine if you did not say, I will do it tomorrow, but you just said, I'll do it today.
Correct.
What would that future self be like? And you'll suddenly realizing that, wow, that guy is awesome. I want to be like that person. I'm not going to give up on this little habit, even though it's hard right now, because I know eventually, A, it'll become easier, but B, it is going to give me that reward that I've been searching for.
You literally become your own source of motivation.
Correct. While motivation is a horrible word to use and
Fair.
doesn't exist, and as a habit coach, we don't use the word motivation, but that is the key. You actually start visualizing it. You become your own inspiration. You become your own intention. In the financial world, very often we invest without a target. We invest without what am I going to use this money for, or where is this money going to go? And as a result, we never see that end product. We just keep thinking about the 2,000 rupees, 2,000 rupees, 2,000 rupees. So instead of thinking 2,000 rupees, which is the hard part in the beginning, think about what are you going to use that eventual 10 lakhs, 15 lakhs, 20 lakhs for that will come in the future. And that's how you start thinking about your future self versus the hard stuff that you're going through right now.
And there's this entire concept of perfection also stop us from taking that initial step.
Nothing is perfect. And that is the key problem. We're like, no, I will wait till I have X amount of money in it. Or I'll wait till I find the perfect place to invest. There's no perfect place to invest. You might as well start and learn along the way, because that is also part of the journey.
So many times people say that, oh, I'm going to wait to be this fit to be able to do this. And I'm like, no. The entire process of getting fit is you learning. You don't have to be a certain level of fitness to try to do something else. It's like my father saying that I am going to wait till I become so fit and then I would come to your studio to work out. And I'm like, what do you think we are doing at my studio? We are getting people to be fit. So just that entire concept of being perfect or being fit enough or being wealthy enough to be able to, let's say, make an investment itself stops people from creating and taking that first step.
Absolutely. When gyms first started, the entire conversation was that we'll first get fit and then go to the gym.
Yeah.
हम walk करेंगे, then we will go to the gym. It was really funny. People completely missed the point.
Correct.
Right? You have to start right there and then. It's going to be hard. You're going to start at the smallest weights, but then you'll eventually work yourself up to the bigger ones.
Listen, it's always going to be tough, mostly at the start, but also so in the middle. But when you look over that middle part, that's where the gains are. Ashdin and I would love to know what was that one thing that kept you going and did not let you quit in the comments below. And if you enjoyed listening to the both of us, don't forget to like and subscribe to this channel.
Mutual fund investments are subject to market risks. Read all scheme-related documents carefully.